discipline is going to be the focus of this speech, why it's important, the different types of discipline, and let's just go over what discipline is. So when I went on the internet and went to dictionary.com, the noun version of discipline is the practice of training people to obey rules or a code of behavior using punishment to correct disobedience. This is something that I am all too familiar with growing up and in the military as well. And it's interesting, the verb meaning of discipline is to train someone to obey rules or a code of behavior using punishment to correct disobedience, which I'm also familiar with because I was in the military for 6 years. Again, my name is Marcus Gray, and this is discipline. So discipline has been a part of my upbringing and I use that in my family as well. I was either fortunate or unfortunate. I'd say I'm more fortunate to have it when it comes to this because my discipline was extremely harsh. But this isn't a sob speech or story. I think discipline in today's generation is a lot different, or can be a lot different than how it was growing up. But even before all that, I want to get into what self-discipline is and what that means. So let me take a step back and talk about motivation. I think motivation is often confused with discipline, or vice versa. Motivation is more of a good feeling on how you may feel at a particular moment, but it doesn't last. To give you an example, a lot of times I may be watching a video, a motivational video, or see somebody that's really motivating that makes me want to go do something because that level of dedication and self-discipline is motivating. And what ends up happening with me, at least, is I'll see this video and I'm like, yeah, I'm motivated, I'm ready to take on whatever. In the next few days, that kind of drops off. And this lasts, this will keep going. I'll need to watch another motivational video to try to perk myself up, or especially if it's something I don't want to do. And it basically drops off again. And I read and looked up why this is. Basically what it is since that motivation is basically a feel-good type of, it's a feel-good emotion, you need self-discipline, which is basically commitment level and strong habits to carry on your motivation. So it's like you have motivation to carry on the strong habits and commitment to, which equals self-discipline. And I found out just by every day, for me, writing 2 things down every day, what I'm going to do every day no matter what, helps me to get into a strong habit, which eventually becomes second nature almost, like using the bathroom or eating. So it becomes that strong to where, okay, I have to do this every day. Another example is my wife. She would, no matter what, she has to go work out, and that's itself for her. That's she's committed. She's committed to doing that because she wants to reach a goal. So no matter how she feels, those strong habits basically is second nature. She has to go do it. She has to go do it. And a lot of times I don't understand why, but this is what she does, and that's what she enjoys doing. So that's a little bit about self-discipline and motivation. And speaking of self-discipline and motivation, I have 3 kids, and they're all here. And a lot of times I need, even getting older, that word that I'm using, a lot, self-discipline, to discipline the kids. And that's up for debate. That's something that people will debate. You know, is spanking good for their kids, or is spanking good for kids? You know, and I would say yes, but that's, you know, there's always a line, and there's always a debate for this subject. You know, for kids and discipline, it's needed. And I wanted to look up, and what I did look up on drphil.com, I wanted to look this subject up. And the first one Dr. Phil says to do is to commit yourself. Commit yourself to basically being consistent. Number two, be realistic in your expectations of your child. Don't have your child do something that you know that they can't do and punish them for it. Define your child's currency. So what this basically means, if your child wants something like this, and I tell him to stop doing this, and I take this truck away because he's doing something bad, I know this is of value to him, and I get his attention by doing that. Give your children predictable consequences. So as long as I'm consistent every time, if I tell him no or don't do something, and I take this away every time, you know, he knows if he does basically A, B is going to happen. And use child level logic. Just, you know, come down to their level, know that they're not adults. Sometimes things have to be explained to them. Now, Dr. Phil says you don't need spankings. And these are 5 different ways that you can use not to spank your child. But this one is a little different. I don't like doing that. And what I may do, especially with my older two, since I don't necessarily like to spank them if they do something, I'll have them on the wall like this and just have their hands out. And that's a form of discipline, and some people may not like that. But what it comes down to is just getting to your kids. You know, you have to get to your kids' attention. Every child is different. And on webmd.com, there's 6 discipline tips. And when I first read this, it surprised me because this is what I do, at least the first one. So the first one is reward good behavior. I figured, you know, growing up for me, it was always just negative. You know, everything was negative. But if they do something good, you know, you have to recognize that as well because, you know, for the most part, I think kids want to please their parents. For the most part, I know my kids do. And you have to be clear about rules, and I set down ground rules, and this is where consistency has to stay. Neutralize arguments. So my daughter may say, but my friends have the new iPhone, and I'll say, yeah, and just keep it at that, you know. But what did I say? You know, it's basically, there's no really room for argument. Kind of have them, they can say what they want, but just neutralize it, just keep it neutralized. Number 4, buy yourself time. I remember when my son was about 2 years old, we're in California, I had a PlayStation, and he had put a Chuck E. Cheese ticket inside the PlayStation, and man, that definitely really upset me, where my wife had to stop me because I was so upset. So buy yourself time, just meaning if you get that upset, don't take it out on the kids. Yes, they done something wrong, but don't take it out on them. This one, tip number 5, be consistent about rules. What I've been preaching about, I think consistency is a great thing. And number 6, model good behavior. Being a parent is not going to be perfect, as you see. This is not going to be a perfect, it's not a perfect gig. You are going to make mistakes, and you just realize those, and you have to admit to those to the kids too, so they know that you're human and you're not just a super person. I think you can lose a lot of respect for that. So in conclusion, I just want to, you know, hopefully that you took a couple things out as far as motivation, how that is just an emotion, and how you can use self-discipline, which equals strong habits and commitment to get to your goals. And if you start using these little tasks every day, I'm not saying that you have an issue, or I know that I do though, but when I start using these tasks every day, writing a couple things down, what I'm going to do no matter what, for week 1, week 2, 60, 90 days, it helped me. So thank you for your time.